Hello, this is Bob with Innovative Data. We are looking at creating a query today. So that will be the bulk of this webinar. The purpose of this right now is for you guys to be able to pull information on the new fields that have been added to the client core, and then to export that information to Excel so you can manipulate it for your reporting. So what we'll do first is go ahead and get into the query builder. We are looking at our demo agency. So of course there's a bunch of stuff in here right now. What we're going to do is start a new query. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and set up a query name. The query name is going to be for social isolation. And then we can copy that and just put that in the description as well. Or if you had additional information you wanted to put on there, you could do that too. For security, generally I put don't share while I'm building it. And then once I know it works and everything's okay, then I'll switch that. So that's basically all the information we need up here. And then we're going to start selecting our columns. The columns on this are all related to the client registration. So what we're going to look for in here is customer core. That has all of our client registration information. We click on the arrow on the left, it actually opens it. If we wanted all of the fields in there, we can just check on the box. In this case, we really don't. We basically want the client ID, and then some basic information to sort when you get into your Excel file. So we'll do age, let's see, gender, ethnicity, race, live alone is one of the ones you want. Income doesn't matter. Number of household. The number in household is what triggers that lives alone. That's why you don't see the live alone on the registration page. So if the number in household is 1, it automatically checks lives alone. But for this, we'll be able to group by that on your Excel sheet, so that'll help you figure that out. So from there, we're going to go ahead and select the additional questions that have been added. So the enrolled questions, referred, and the identified caregiver. That's all that's in the customer core. So we'll click this button here, and that's going to add the columns. And notice they're in the order that we selected them on there, on where they appear. The next part that we need for this is the rural and age range. It's still part of the customer core, but you'll see on here there's another field that says customer core AOA. We open that, we have the age range and rural and a couple other things in here. So we'll go ahead and grab rural and add age range, and then add those to our columns again with the add columns button. Okay, so now we can look in this result columns and we can see everything that we added and the order they're in. and make sure we're good. It looks like we got everything. Okay, so the next part of this is we want to add some conditions. So in order to do that, under Query Conditions, we're going to click on this arrow. You see how it opens up. We're going to add a new condition. This first group here, now that the condition is here, it just defaults to the first available here. So what we're going to look at is the condition for this query is that they had to have received a unit of service within the 3-month period. So what we're going to type in here is service units. You see service units here, and then we're going to look at the service date because they need to have received that unit within a specific time range. And then what we can do here, you'll see it says within today. You can actually set, a couple pre-filled ranges here, but in this instance, we're going to do for 3 months, so we're going to do custom period. And we can select that. And then you can use the arrows to go back. We're going to do October 1st. Through December 31st. Okay, so that ensures that our results are going to have a service unit within this time range. Okay, so next though, we want it to be a specific type of service. So we're going to add another condition. In this case, it could be 2 different services. It could be telephone reassurance or the friendly visiting. So in order to make it multiple, we're going to open a bracket. Okay, and you'll notice on here when it opens, it says any. So basically, the first section here says all. So all of these conditions have to work. So in this instance, it'll be a service unit within this date range that is one of these services. So we're going to change this. We're going to go to service units again, and we're going to go to local service code and definition. So that way we can specify which service we want to look at. And then by default, it goes to starts with. You can actually change the type of condition on here. And then we have a value. So unless you actually remember these service codes, which I don't, we'll have to look that up real quick. There's a couple places you can look. If we click on menu and just go to log daily services, we can actually just find it in the service list. That's probably the easiest. So right here, friendly visiting, and then we can just copy that service code and come back to Query Builder and paste it. Then once we click out of that box, it'll just save it there. Okay. And then the other one, we're going to add another condition here. And since I clicked on this arrow, it's still underneath the bracket. So any of these, we'll go to service units again, the local service code. And we're going to cheat and go back to log daily services and find the telephone reassurance. And we'll copy that code. Go back to Query Builder, paste it. All right, so now we have our 2 services that are possible, the date range in which we wanted to see those, and it's all of these 2. So it'll have a service unit within this range, and it could have a unit of either this or this. Either one would make it work. So we have our columns, we have our conditions, We have everything in there. So we're going to save our work so we don't lose it. Saved. And then on save, it actually ran. So we can actually see down here the different people that have met those conditions. There's only 5. Once again, we're in the demo database. So, and then you can scroll to the right and see all of our information that we collected, different columns. So the checkbox is yes, blank would be no. And then from here, we can do a print list and export this to Excel. So from there, you can manipulate that data and get the information you need for your reporting. There it is. We can enable. We'll have all the information and we're good. Something else you can do, just to kind of give you a little bit more information on this query builder, is now that we have this, our second part here, the bracket, is any of these. If you wanted to know specifically what service they received, we can actually uncheck one. And then we can run it again and see what our results are. So now on this particular code, only 2 of the 5 actually received that one. So it's just a way to filter it down a little bit more and get more information out of the query. Another thing is on here, we actually clicked on this arrow to add information, a condition or bracket. You'll notice there's arrows up here as well. If you wanted to create a total or move these, you can move to top, move to bottom, remove one by deleting it, or you can actually turn it into an aggregate, which would be a sum, a count, any of those additional information. See, it just defaulted to sum, but then you can change it. So if you wanted a total in your results, that would be the way to do it. For this one, we'll just turn it back to a simple column. Okay, so now we know this query works. We have results. You could verify these results by going to reports and running a unit report for these 2 services, or probably more likely a worksheet so you have client names and you could see who was involved, but that'd be a way to verify your query. And then once you're happy with it, you can share it within the provider and agency, just you and the agency only, or for everybody. And this one, I'll save it for everybody. So what this does is it'll put it on the query builders page up here, and it allows anyone to run it, but they won't be able to edit your query. So if you go into the query builder and there's a query you found that is, you run it, find it interesting, you'd like to mess with it, we can run, see this one's not me, so we can run that query. But that query doesn't work, it must be old. Oh, it is very old. Let's see if one of these works. Okay, so that one worked. Okay, so on here, you see everything's black instead of blue like it was on ours. We can't change anything. So in order to actually change it, I can actually save a copy. So I'll change the query name, Put my initials on there so I know it's mine, and save a copy. And our copy is going to show at the top here, and we can see it's created by. So now when I run it, we're going to notice all the lines are blue again, and we can actually edit things. So it'll let me change these columns, reorder them, delete them, do whatever, because now it's my query. What that does, the purpose of that, is to where you can share your query, but no one can change your query. They can make a copy of it and then modify it to their needs, but that ensures that when you come back to run your query, it's not changed and it's going to work like you wanted it to. So that's just another deal on here that'll help you share your queries and your information across the agency or provider or however you want to set it up. So I think that's it. This is a very powerful tool, as you can see, all of the different tables that are in here. It does get a little intimidating for a lot of users. Something to think about though, the majority of what you're going to want to look at is in this customer core. Probably scheduled services. We come down here to it, services scheduled. That's got the actual services with start and end dates, or service units, which we looked at for this query. And in that service units, of course, you have the service date, type, all that information in there. When you're building a query, you want to also think about columns that would cause duplication. So what I mean by that is right now we had the service date in a condition. If we were to actually put a service date on our result columns for every day that client received a unit, there would be a line. So you'd see that client name multiple times in your results with a different unit date or unit type. So whenever you're selecting these, it's important to think about those columns. Or if you run it and see that you have duplication, you can narrow it down and remove the columns that cause that, or turn that column into a sum or something to bring your results back in line. So hopefully this information helps, gets you moving in the right direction. As always, if you run into problems, be sure to just contact us through support, and we can help you figure out what's happening with your query. Thank you. You guys have a good day.